pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see so many interested residents and non-residents. Hopefully we keep this a positive meeting. We have a rule here that anything after the agenda items, after the communications, anybody can speak. If they speak without being recognized by me, I would not like that. So raise your hand, stand up, whatever at the end, and we'll get everybody's discussions in. Anything else before we go into general public? Okay, who wants to go first? Raise your hand. Okay.
I'm Jessica Runge, but maybe you guys should all introduce yourselves to everybody before we go further. I don't think everybody knows everybody.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm Jim Abbey, councilman.
Pete Smoldeck.
Ryan Lett.
Matt West.
Ken Chase, Highway Superintendent.
I'm David Crossley, the code official.
We're the Runges. We live over in the red house, Velma Mills' old house on Kent Street. We've learned that Gernatt is proposing a gravel pit out back behind and next to the Baptist church. We talked to Dave, well, my husband talked to Bill on Wednesday. I didn't get very much information, so we're here for more information. Now that we have Dave and Bill in the same place, and the board. So I'd like to know who approached you from Gernatt when this all happened.
Should we do the process first, Dave? Tell
Yes.
them the process about.
Yeah, if you like.
Yeah.
Any way you want to do it. The process is this.
Step out.
Can everybody hear Dave?
No.
David, you're moving out here, buddy, sir. All right.
I'm fine. I got a big enough voice I can get to them, I think. The DEC issues these permits, okay? The town doesn't issue the permit for the gravel pit. They're in control of that. It's not something that is a use variance here. It's a use by special use permit. DEC controls that, whether they're going to do this or not do that. What we do under the special use permit process is have public hearing to listen to the voices of the people and try and put in reasonable restrictions to make it livable, okay? And those things are, just to mention a few, but not to include every one of them, would be, hours of operation, dust control, dirt out onto the highways, things like that. All those things that, distances and noise, that kind of stuff. How close they can get to a residential house. A lot of zoning laws have some of that information written right into it so that it's concrete. The zoning law here in the town, unfortunately, is 40 plus years old and doesn't have that information. But that doesn't mean you can't put in reasonable restrictions, the same as everybody else has in their zoning laws, okay? So you can do those types of things. And there's also reclamation that the state's gonna, you may go through some growing pain with this. It may not be aesthetically the best why they're doing, but and that's an opinionated thing. Some people like it, some people don't. I suppose the closer you live with, the more affected you're by it. But there is reclamation to make the property usable and aesthetic again in the end. In some communities, and I know firsthand in Gary, what we're really on the edge of dealing with now is they're going to have a large property with a pond in the middle that's going to be separated into building lots and hopefully going to build some houses and have a nice additional neighborhood. The same thing could happen here. I mean, it's growing pains. It's 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, but those are all things you should talk about and try and get this company to commit. Now, That being said, I met with them very briefly. They came in and said they're looking at it, and they're talking to the DEC. And I told them, we need an application. I don't know where the DEC is in their process, but you have to contact them. I just can't get that out of them, okay? So for you guys to contact the DEC to see what their process is and what they're doing. Normally, they have public hearings also, where you can go and comment on these issues. So your voice means a lot. I'm sure it means a lot to this board, and it'll mean a lot to the Board of Appeals. The good Board of Appeals, I think they'll listen to you. They're going to take into consideration what you're telling them. Can they just out and outright say no? No, it's not the town board or the Board of Appeals decision to say no. It's the DEC's decision, okay? So you might want to concentrate there first. They'll be the first ones that issue a permit, all right? It won't be us. We're just there to look at how we can facilitate it happening better if it's approved. I guess, in a nutshell, that's it, okay?
Yeah.
I spoke to DEC, I talked to Lucas Mahoney, who all these binding permits go through, and basically, if the application comes through, all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted, they give them the permit. There's no reason really not to, as long as they filled out the application, they've done all their EAF forms, EIS forms, or statements. There's no reason for them not to give it to it. And he said what it comes down to is whether the town wants it or not. And they do need a special use permit, and the town can say no. And they are typically supposed to work in tandem. Gernatts would be working in tandem with the town as they do both of these permits, a special use and a mining permit.
Let me tell you,
Gernatt
I've
has
had
the
several
approach.
mining permits in several towns around. The DEC does not call the town.
No,
Not-
Gernatts is supposed to.
They don't work with us in that capacity. They issue those permits
Yeah.
before they ask us. And they are the authority. The town is not. Okay?
Lucas says the town can say no.
You know,
When would we have that opportunity?
I don't know if
I'd say you could
the permit's
tell
issued.
Gernatts now that you don't want to, or you could just let it keep going and.
Why would we say we don't want to?
Most of the towns get
First,
What?
Yes.
What does it benefit the town, having a gravel pit there?
There's been a gravel pit there as far as 69 years ago. I've lived in that house where Mark Courts live now, and there was a gravel pit there then. There's a gravel pit on your property. There's a gravel pit where Syracuse used to live.
There's that one on our side.
Yes, there is.
And it's not nearly the kind of operation they had 69 years ago.
But it was still a gravel pit. So I don't see the
You want to tell the truth, you're going to continue lying.
I can't hear you.
Tell the truth and stop lying.
Tell what?
Tell the truth and stop lying is what he's saying.
He's saying I'm lying?
Someone is.
Come here. Wait, who said it?
I did.
What am I lying about?
There was never a gravel pit there.
There was two. I lived there.
Some of them were there when they moved here.
There was a gravel pit there. Anybody that's lived here as long as I have can tell you there was a gravel pit there. There was a gravel pit up by the dump.
This is
And so why is that lying? I'm not lying about it. Please rephrase that. You owe me an apology, young man.
I do not owe you anything.
Okay, you have to leave.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. It's in our bylaws that I can ask you to leave if you're being rude, and you are being rude. You have to leave. Who was that?
does it matter? I don't know.
That was my son.
Okay. Why did he say that? Why did he say I was lying?
Because he believes that there was no such thing as a gravel pit there.
Well, there was. Trust me. I used to play in it.
There was a gravel pit there.
Yes.
And if there was, there isn't now.
I didn't
And we
say there
don't
was
want it
no.
there. You don't live on my road anymore.
What's your road?
Kent Street.
Okay.
My name's John Johnston.
Okay.
I live on Kent Street, right next door to the Rungies.
Yes.
My kids play in that road, ride their bikes up and down it, take walks up it. I don't want the heavy machinery on that road. I don't want the heavy trucks up and down that. I don't want my house value depreciated because of all the dust. And nobody's going to buy my house if I want to sell out. They put that pit in there, I'm screwed.
Dave, do we even know where the access road is going to be?
Yes.
They've not submitted any documents to us whatsoever.
Sir?
Hi, it's Matt Reed. We own the Cirque House, and yeah, we do know that they've got it staked out on in between the VFW and our property. There's a 50-foot access road. They've already got the flags there. They've already put the survey stakes in. So obviously they're planning on cutting a road to there. And I'm not sure what they did with the property they bought from our corpse, but I mean they've got at least an access, if not a larger area.
But
But I
they
mean-
haven't submitted any dossier.
It does. I mean, they wouldn't.
We don't have any.
I know we have. I'm not going to discount that, but I'm saying they're not going to go through the time and effort to survey, to mark it out, and to
Yeah.
prep it if they're not going to go in there. I mean, if you're running a
So it's
business,
not even going to be on Kent?
It's
it is coming out, Kent. They're going to have two. If you're smart about it, what are you going to do in the operation? You want it goes in and goes out. You take your empties in, you load up, you come out
Okay,
with your
but
scale.
I don't know that, and
But we know there's. You're right. We don't know what we don't know what the
Yeah.
property's in. We
Right.
speculate all day
Right.
long. And your point about the gravel pit previously being there, you're absolutely right.
yeah.
But that was 70 years ago. At least on our property, they hit basically the groundwater, and they pretty much ceased and desisted graveling there, from what I could tell.
No,
And
the
that's
point
all
that I was
speculation.
making is that there was a gravel pit.
Right, but what I'm
Three
really,
of them.
what I'm going to make the point of is that it's no longer relevant. I mean, I work for an industry where we used to dump nuclear waste in a creek. That doesn't make it right.
No.
Nor do we want
No.
it. I mean, we're talking a whole different apples to apples, not apples to hand grenades, because they're going to come in there with equipment and they're here to make money. Let's be realistic. It's a prime gravel property that's going to go down 50, 60 feet. Based on what I'm seeing on my property, the water table is our mud puddle pond that sits there. And there's
Yeah,
going to be,
right.
it's not going to be like South Dayton where we got a nice lake and we can reclaim it and have a fishing hole and use it as a tourist attraction in 10 years. It's not enough water there,
I don't know.
you know?
We don't know that. We don't know how big.
Well,
it
I
is.
know where the water is in my property. I know my property was a gravel pit. I know where I see 70 years ago, whenever they did it, when the banks where they excavated out, there isn't, I don't know what they do for reclamation and what they can do, but I'm telling you right now, it's still, all dug out. I've got rocks
Yeah.
and the cliff's still there.
Mrs. Runge, do you know if they've submitted the application?
Lucas is expecting one in a couple of weeks.
And yep,
I've spoken to the archaeologists. They've done the archaeological assessment already, or at least it's in the works. They've done all their surveying. Everything that's tilled up is what is supposedly part of the project. If you can go over there, you'll see that it's tilled up along the church property as an access road down to Kent. They have flags, ribbon flags, flag and ribbon tied to trees that you can see from from Main Street, where they'll come out between their house and VFW.
Don't they have to do testing also for the type
sure
of
they have.
gravel?
They have, and you can look in the soil maps, and it's good gravel. It's better than our gravel on our land. And no one's arguing that there's not gravel there. There's gravel
No,
there. It's good
absolutely.
gravel. But again, a gravel pit being there 7 years ago is irrelevant. It's a
Right.
totally different situation, a totally different industry, totally different people living there.
The point that I was making was that there was always a
Yeah,
gravel.
so that's,
Yes.
but it's a moot point. It
Okay,
doesn't
but
matter.
remember, folks,
Yeah.
it isn't the town that you're up against. We had nothing to do with this.
Oh, no, we're looking for your
No.
support. We want you to say no. So
Yeah.
who is your contact person at Gernatt? Who do I talk to there?
We have had no contact with anyone. Nobody's contacted us.
We had
I'm sorry.
One request.
one request to meet, and they said, look, we're looking into this. Basically is what we said.
That's all we've
From who?
got.
Two gentlemen from Gernatt, they've got their names
I would like those
on the
names.
report. I'll get them to you.
DEC, also Lucas tells me we can get on the seeker list. For those of you who aren't familiar with seeker, it's State Environmental Quality Review. Everybody should call Lucas. I have his direct number. In a couple weeks, once they have the application, we can get copied on the communication back and forth between Gernatt, the town, and whoever else they're talking to about the process of the application.
And the seeker does require public hearing.
At the end. I'd rather get
Before
to
they
it
make
before
the
the end.
decision,
Yes.
requires public hearing. That's
Yes.
what I told you before.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
They have to have a public hearing
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the town can say no, if a town zoning law, and you're talking about a zoning law that's 40-plus years old here,
Yep.
if a town zoning law is up to date and it was something where the use is not an allowed use, okay, which is not the case what we have here, they would be asking for a use variance, which is different than a special use permit. Use variance is highest bar to get to in state of New York, okay? And yes, the use variance is self-created hardship, those types of things. There's four bars that are very hard to get over, especially if you already own the property and know what the use is. If it's a residential only, and this is not allowed, then it's a self-imposed hardship, and that's how the town could say no. It depends on what your zoning law says.
Right.
Ours is weak.
And I feel like
I'll be right up front with you.
that's a very gray area, and that is being taken advantage of, because the village line runs right through the top of Marquardt's property and the bottom of Nobles, something like that. I can show you on a map. And because there isn't
Yeah.
specific zoning with
Not in the
clear
village,
language,
and in the town is weak.
it's weak, and we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
not
But the
in
village
position to
has
make-
none whatsoever. I mean, I'm
Right.
talking about town law.
Right, so let's
And
talk
so-
about the town side of the line and the village side line. What are the differences in the zoning languages there?
There isn't a town and village line any longer.
But there's the zoning still, so how does that?
There is no zoning
No, there's gonna
in
be
the
one.
hamlet.
So there's no zoning at all,
No, we're in the process of doing comprehensive plan
okay?
and rewriting a zoning law. Takes quite a long time to do. We have committees already set up. We've
Okay.
met, we've
So in
got,
that time frame, the old zoning's still in place, not?
there was no zoning in the village.
The village didn't, but like you see,
The town.
beyond the village and the
It
town,
was
there
the
had to be
town, and the
some.
town, it's an allowed use by special use
May I
permit.
address that, since I'm right in the middle of that problem? You've got me in a commercial zone, I'm battling the very thing you're telling me that doesn't exist right now.
No,
I'm right in that
No,
zone.
no,
You're
Not
in
at
the
all.
town.
no,
No.
you're in the town. It
You're in
was
the
the
town.
village that had.
Excuse
no-
me, but all the gravel is in the village side of that pit, or I mean the town side, not the
Yeah.
village side.
Okay, the village has
The
no.
majority of the whole hillside is town. It splits right after the Baptist church, and there's nothing they're gonna get out of the lower end of that field. And the only way they'll extract anything valuable is to go deep. So where are they pumping the water? What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, and by the time they get the 25-foot setback all around an 18-acre piece of property and get a 30-degree incline, which is what they have to do to pull gravel out without creating a cliff that's gonna tip over, from like Matt says, from the backside, it's just ridiculous.
But all those
Business
questions need to go to the public
out of
hearing for the
Granat's first
DEC.
place. Yeah.
That's what is appropriate for the DEC, those are their rules, and that's the public hearing that you want to be at
Is
to
that
talk
not
about.
commercial? You're calling me commercial and a little bit of wedding venue, but yet this isn't commercial with machinery and dust and dirt and noise way more than I make. We operate 125 hours a year total, but you guys are battling me.
You
But-
guys
but-
are not. We are not battling you.
What
Lonnie.
I get letters from the town,
Well-
maybe you not personally, I
No,
understand,
no,
Bill.
No, not. The town is upholding a.
Exactly,
statement
that's
that
exactly
somebody-
it. So you're telling me that's not commercial and you're not gonna uphold the zoning on the town side of that gravel
Again,
pit?
it's not the town against you. It's not. The
I'm not
town.
talking about against me now. I'm saying if you're coming at me for a zoning issue in the same thing, I backed this whole gravel pit on two sides, okay? So that gravel's coming out of the same zone that you're talking about my property. So why isn't that a zoning or variance issue? Why don't they have to attack a commercial entity
It's allowed
there?
by special use permit.
What's
Okay?
that?
That is allowed by special use permit.
That's allowed, but I'm not.
Public assembly is not.
Okay.
Okay,
Boy,
that
that's
would
a
be
rich
a
one,
use
isn't it?
variance, what we just described as a use variance. That's what's listed there. And
They're all use
with public
variances.
assemblies, which is the most restricted building that there is.
We're not talking about
in
the
building
building, we're
code,
talking about the property the building sits on.
but half of
You
what
keep
got
confusing those two,
deals
David.
with that also. So there are a lot of issues that have to be talked through with you.
I'm fine with the building, but again, we're talking about zoning.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the big problem. I'm not worried about the building, but the zoning is what we're talking
You're
about
getting
now.
off course here.
Yeah, we are.
You're getting off course.
I don't think we are. I think we're right on board.
Apples and oranges,
Yeah.
two completely different things.
It is and it isn't.
I just don't get that.
You said special use. I'm unfamiliar with a lot of terminology. I'm
Is
sorry.
it commercial property or is it not commercial property? One or the other.
No,
Right, it's
no.
residential farm.
There's a there's uses that are allowed in areas, okay? Uses that are allowed. It doesn't matter that it's, when it's commercial, just because it's commercial doesn't mean every commercial use is allowed. Some are allowed and some are special use permit, depending on their impacts. But the DEC has taken over the authority to issue this permit. The town doesn't have the authority to issue the permit, okay? So that doesn't apply in that zoning law. It does not apply.
And so what Mrs. Runge said is true. If these residents, and please don't attack us, we're not doing anything. And I'm thankful that you've been positive and a smile on your face. Because you get a lot farther with sugar than you do with salt and vinegar. And so I think your suggestion to have everybody call the DEC is the right way to go.
Absolutely.
Because we have no control over this. None. Yes.
I have another suggestion. You do have control. Why can't you put a moratorium on making these such decisions such as a gravel pit until the zoning is adopted by the entire town?
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yep.
That's a good
We
point.
have that authority, that'd be a good.
Why wouldn't
We
you?
have
Following
the
the
moratorium authority because the state has
Bill.
the authority to issue permits. We would have authority to issue a moratorium on things that we can
Stand up
give
there.
permits for. All right?
But that's,
We
it's two
do
separate
not
issues.
have that
Just a little
authority.
thing.
It's a use that's allowed by special use permit with restrictions, reasonable restrictions.
Make a moratorium on handing out special use permits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not, you know,
Why not?
You're getting into some legal areas that the state and the DEC will want to address with you, and I think that's all the more important. You go to that public hearing
But
and get
she,
your answers.
she makes a good point. Could you
Yeah,
send me,
absolutely.
yeah, could you send me an email with that suggestion?
Why do I need an email?
I would like it in writing.
Will it be in the notes?
It's in the minutes.
She isn't a legal note taker for those kinds of questions, and I would like to have it from you saying that you would like this. You don't want to do that in writing?
I can, that's fine. I just figured this was public enough. But I'll write you an email.
Okay, because then I've got it, and I've got it the way that you want it stated, and then I can go to the lawyers and find out.
Is there a better way to state it that will make it happen?
I'm not a lawyer, so.
Can I bring,
Wait a minute.
Attorneys have a
Diane's
lot to
next.
say about all these
Bill, I
things.
don't live anywhere, I don't live on this part of the town of Cherry Creek, but don't you think it would be beneficial for the town board here to contact DEC? Because now DEC needs to hear that all these people are concerned. They're supposed to protect the environment.
Right. You're supposed to
And now
protect
we've
us.
got people here who are talking about how their houses are going to be impacted, possibly their water's going to be impacted, the lives of their children
Yep.
are going to be impacted, potentially. I'm not saying it will or not, but I've had a little experience with DEC in my position I was out in central New York. They will listen to the community if the community leadership goes to them. I'm hearing that you don't have anything to do with it, but you do. You represent the community. And if you sit down with the leadership or DEC or whoever's in charge of dealing with Gernatt, you need to say, look, our residents don't want this. Here's why they don't want it. And we need you, DEC, to start backing the people of this community and not a business that, I don't know if Gernatt has any business in our town. I don't think they do. So they're not even part of this community.
they're just here to make money.
So I think that
Yeah, which I get.
it would be prudent for this committee, this group of gentlemen and representatives, to represent these people and say, look, that's just my humble opinion, and I think that you gentlemen are wise enough and you're articulate enough that you can sit down with DEC and say, look, I mean, we've got people got cameras on all of us, and say, look, this is what our community's doing. You're causing turmoil in our community that's not going to, end in 4 or 5 years. It's going to be lasting.
Yep.
And people are, and this gentleman over here says his property, I mean, he's going to
Not
be,
just mine.
no offense, you're going to be a senior citizen someday, like all of us, and he's going to want to move his family to Florida or Arizona, and he's going to want to put his house up for sale. Who wants to buy next to a gravel pit?
That goes for any of us on that road in that
Right.
area.
I mean, I'm just sitting back and listening, that's all.
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate that.
Yeah, just true.
Yes.
The town board is the steward of our community.
It is.
We need you to be proactive and start fighting for us.
This is the first we've heard of it, so let's,
I don't think it is the first you've heard of it, because they've been there for more than a month.
no.
I haven't heard
All we have had is somebody came to Dave and asked for what they'd have to do.
All right.
That's all we do.
Well, it's time for you guys to take a stand and get more information.
And so this is the first communication that we've had from our residents, and I thanked you when we first sat down, and I'm thanking you again. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We will take it into accord and do something about it.
What are you going to do?
How can we help?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much agreed upon that nobody really, I don't see the advantage or, what the benefit to the town is by putting it in.
I don't
It seems to be a general consensus, correct?
Yeah, I don't see why we can't, as a board, contact the DEC and say, we have taxpayers that, like you said, you know, you worded it perfectly. We should, and I think maybe all of us together going after this, and it will come to a public hearing.
Yes, come to a public hearing.
And
That's where you want to voice your
we're going to try doing the best we can because we're working for you guys.
Absolutely.
Am I right
And we
with
want
the
to
board?
do that.
And I mean, how much more can we do for you? We're going to try our best. But I agree exactly. We could say, hey, our people don't want it.
Well, here's Lucas Mahoney's number. He's at the Allegheny District 9 DPC office, 379-6380. I'd like to know who's going to call him. I'd like to know who's going to call Gernatt to see what's going on with that.
379 what?
379-6380.
And his name is?
Lucas Mahoney. He used to work at the Soil and Water Conservation District in Haverhill.
You know? Matt, well,
I hear he's a good guy.
Matt said that he would contact him.
Okay.
All right? Doesn't Gernatt, it doesn't make any difference. I can or you can.
I heard Rick Pecknick or Rich Pecknick. is the
Richard
name.
Pecknick?
Yeah. I think that's the name that keeps coming up.
Rick Pecknick?
Yeah.
Which
He's worked there forever.
he has, I know.
Yeah.
And I can contact him also, whatever we want to do on that. I don't have a problem.
All right, so you're going to contact Rich, you're going to contact Lucas Mahoney.
Sure. And you all are going to contact the DEC and keep things going.
Where are we going to post the information so we can get it? I know you're putting it out there. I didn't bring a pen and paper, and I should have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ed always seems to get the best spot, but I'm not
Do
sure
we
that's
have a,
appropriate.
is there a
There's a webpage.
town
for Cherry Creek.
webpage
Yeah,
where we
there-
put some of this information for
yeah,
the meeting
It's
notes?
Cherry Creek, New York.
And who handles that?
It's handled through Southern Tier West, but if you get it to me, I can get it
Who
posted.
is Southern Tier West?
It's a government agency.
I know what they are, or who they're.
Sarah Fiersdorf.
You spell that?
SARAHPHERSDORF.
Okay.
Sue?
Sue Fish, Cherry Creek resident and also covering this for the Post-Journal. Jessica, I would like your question about the moratorium. I didn't get it all, and I'd like to get it right before it goes into print. Could somebody read that back to me, what you have?
Well, that's why I asked for it in writing. I can get it to you after she sends me the email.
Okay,
I would just like the town to consider a moratorium on big decisions before the
big
planning is
decisions
done.
or special use permits?
Special use permits, yeah. I
Okay.
guess. I'm not sure what the appropriate language would be. I'll have to think about that.
Okay, Bill, if you.
Because I don't want to leave any loopholes.
I'll give you my email. before-
I've got
Gray
it.
areas.
Yeah, unless it's changed.
We have a town attorney, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't this be something the town attorney would handle for the board? To
Yeah,
make sure
that's why I asked
that-
her.
To make sure there's no loopholes?
Yeah, that's why I asked her to send it to me so I can get it to him. Yeah, exactly.
Who is our attorney?
Dana Lundberg,
Where's he from?
Jamestown, 3rd Street.
What's his office name?
Pardon me?
What's his office? Is it just Lundberg Associates?
Lumber price.
It's the corner of 4th and
Yeah.
Washington.
Okay. As for reclamation, this is totally going down a different tangent. They're not going to fill it back in and make it what it was. They take off the topsoil, they take off the subsoil, they start taking maybe 5 acres at a time, reclaim that. But the slope, I believe it's 1 on 3, just the slopes, and then they'll fill in whatever topsoil they have left. So you have to find out how deep they're going from top to bottom, how deep the gravel is, how deep the water they expect it to fill in with. So you're either going to have a pond on the top of the hill if it holds water. I know our land does not hold water, so you may just have a big crater. You got to find out if they're going to make a shelf from where Marquardt sold their land at the bottom of the slope, if they're just going to start chopping it out there, and you're going to have a big ravine. There's a lot of questions you should be asking Gernatts. I can give you a list of those if you like. We should also be researching how this will affect the recharge area of the new village well that's in the park, just across from our land. No one's really talked about that. You should talk about, I believe there's a noise study that should be included in the permit, so make sure they're doing that and who that's going to do. As for the, back to the well, I wouldn't let Gernatt do that. I'd find somebody, a third party who is not in Gernatt's interest to look at that, a hydrogeologist or a geologist. There's a lot of questions you should be asking.
Yeah, there are.
Very-
Maybe I should meet with you.
That's fine.
Which I will bring that up to Rich Pecknick from Gernatt, that there's several.
Yep. I have, here, this will help you. I have drawings that I got, these are just informational, they're not actual surveys, but these are from the county GIS. There's a topo map, I didn't get a chance to put them on top of, on each other, but there's just property lines. You'll notice that Marquardt's name is no longer on theirs, that's because it's been sold and they are in the works of fixing that at the tax map office. Noble's name is still on his property. So anyhow, there's property lines, an aerial view, and topographic maps, so I have that for each of you.
That's the reason, Ken, you couldn't get to the lines.
I did not print out the village lines, but basically it runs across between the two parcels of Marquardt's. I also have a large scale color version. I'm happy to get these. We should be asking for cross sections from Gernatt's. I assume it should all be in their mine permit, but ask anyway. You should have 3 maps. If you don't have 3 maps, let me know.
Another question we should take into consideration, maybe ask somebody. We have, as long as I've lived in Cherry Creek and can remember, as long as I've been driving, have never been able to get the DOT to keep 83 in a decent condition. These trucks that are going to be pounding that highway are going to make it to the point where we're not even going to drive on it anymore.
We,
You know what I'm saying?
I have written letters to every state.
I know. But like I said, as long as I lived here, we've never been able to get the DOT to keep it in a decent condition. So now, with all the truck traffic that's going to be on it, we're screwed. We're not even going to drive that way. We're going to have to go around Farrington Hollow just to go to South Dayton. You know what I'm saying? It's just, right.
It looks like
And who are you?
Jason Rowicki.
Thank you.
Lived here in Cherry Creek all my life, really.
Also, I think now...
And who are you?
That's Mark. I think things are a lot different now. People are more conscious of what's going into our air. And I think this is a big issue as far as what could be in the soil, what could be in the gravel. It's common to have what's called crystalline silica in the dust, in the air, and that is highly carcinogenous. And it causes lung cancer. Lung cancer is the #1 killer in the United States, and that could be a huge issue. Also, the diesel fuel, the trucks, diesel fuel is more carcinogen. It's a proven carcinogen, and that would it increases your chances of lung cancer by an area like this by 50%. So that's huge. I mean, this is going to affect the kids in the playground, people in church, all of us that live around there. Right.
Again, all questions for the environmental, for the seeker, and very important to
for you to be
voice
aware.
that.
Yeah, but like if we all are on the
Yeah,
same
very
page
important
as
to
to
voice
why
that. Yep.
there's so many.
Get your list together
concerns.
and make sure that you have all those questions ready for them in a public hearing, and you want answers. And, you know, they don't necessarily make a decision the night that they have that public hearing. If you bring to them several issues that they haven't addressed, they'll postpone and do the research to have answers before they make the decision. So that's how it works, and that's the way you have a voice. That's where your best voice is. Not here with the zoning with the town.
There's going to be something
that's
that
a
all work
lot
together
less
to do. Yeah.
invasive. Okay, in this situation.
How are we going to know when this meeting is? The public hearing.
There might not even be one if
Well,
it doesn't go that far.
Oh.
So,
If they do a seeker, there will be a public hearing.
By
yeah, but
law-
if it doesn't get that far, is what I'm saying.
By law, they have to contact everybody by mail who lives within 500 feet of the property line. Now, I don't know which lines we're going to refer to. And then it should be posted in the paper. However, we have Dunkirk and Jamestown, and who knows which paper they're on. The best thing to do is be involved on the seeker list. And like I said, when they get that application, we can all sign up to be on that seeker list. So, let you know somehow.
So we,
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
The other thing
you
is
know where I live, I
Ken
just
Crossley.
live across the way.
Are they gonna maintain that road? That's gonna be a lot of damage on that dirt road.
That road can't handle those trucks in the first place.
Right.
And what I'm afraid of is they're going to say, we'll pave it for you.
Taxpayer dollars costing us more money.
What's in it for the town? I don't think the benefits are worth the cost.
Right.
No.
okay. So we have an action plan. My number is 474.
Hold on. Your number here or your number yourself? One of them.
My number. 474-6998. You can reach me anytime.
Okay. What's your email?
Cherry Creek 8050 at Yahoo. I have a lot of stuff in my brain for an old man.
Still in there.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add? I think we have good communication, and I'm glad. I truly am. I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. I think this is good. I'm glad to see people at a town board meeting. And we can come to some actions and finalization.
I live across the street from the property. I've noticed surveyors there. I've noticed lots of traffic going up through the farm fields that's not normally there. They only plowed up part of the farm fields instead of the whole thing, which was odd. And there's survey stakes all over the place. So I stopped a truck and I asked them what was going on. And it was the archaeologist doing the archaeological assessment for a mining permit. Well, it would be Lucas Mahoney at DEC, Region 9, the Allegheny sub-office. He's a supervisor there. The mining permits go through him. Once they have an application, they can't really do anything right now, but once they have an application, residents and other concerned people can call and be placed on the seeker communication list, which will keep you, basically keep you in the know of what's going on with the permit and how it's progressing or not progressing. It'll keep you informed of when the public comment periods are. It's just, doing your diligence.
Do you think they've done their proper research? Or do you think that the board has?
No.
No, they've not done any research. When I talked to the board, they didn't even hardly know about it. So.
And I spoke to Bill Young and Kevin Okerlund about it probably a couple months ago, and they didn't know about it at the time, but I made them aware that there was information about it and that the property owner next to us was selling the property to Gernatt for the purpose of the gravel pit. And so they acted like they didn't know anything about it, but I had given them information, and I just talked to her the other day. But we own property right in front of where the gravel pit is going to be.
On 83.
Potentially. Call the DEC.
Yeah.
Try to stop this now.
Because if our town board won't do it, we'll do it.
And we need to do it.
Yes.
Were you involved in the deliberations for the wind turbines?
No.
Nope. I didn't realize they were coming so close, to be honest.
Right, and I didn't realize all the negative effects of the wind turbine. I've heard those things, but I didn't realize there was so many negative things.
I hope they just give a flat out no, we don't want it to Gernatt, and that stops right there. If they're not willing to do that, I'd like to get a moratorium for right now from starting any new projects such as gravel pits or other large things, but honestly, I just expect a flat out no, either now or in the future.
What's Gernatt want the Cherry Creek gravel for? Nearby fill for the 37 industrial wind turbines, 600 feet tall, destined for Cherry Creek, Charlotte, and Arkwright. Video, Gernatt Trucks, 2017 to 2018, Arkwright. Part 2 of the meeting to follow. Wind turbine report from an NOG rep.
Leah.
Hi.
This is Leah Grossman. She's our energy representative, and she's next.